In this tutorial, we will outline the important shark and ray area criteria, or as we will commonly refer to them, the ISRA criteria. This tutorial will cover the purpose and scope of the ISRA criteria, and then step through each criterion and, where relevant, associated subcriterion one by one. The ISRA criteria provide an independent, expert-based, and scientific framework to objectively identify areas of importance to sharks, crucial for their persistence, and, where required, their recovery. Well-defined, credible, and scientifically defensible criteria are the foundation of the ISRA process and its applicability. The ISRA criteria consider the complex biological and ecological needs of sharks, including areas important to threatened or range-restricted species, the specific habitats that support life history characteristics and vital functions, such as reproduction, feeding, resting, movement, and distinctive or diverse attributes. Important in this context refers to any ecological property or value of an area that can affect the well-being of sharks within that area and is crucial to maintain or improve the conservation status of sharks. The ISRA criteria and associated subcriteria can be applied to all environments where sharks occur, and therefore encompass marine, estuarine, and freshwater. They also consider the diversity of species, their complex behaviors and ecology, and their biological requirements. Each criterion and subcriterion has been developed to be relevant to all taxonomic groups. However, not all sharks may qualify for each of the ISRA criteria. For example, not all species are threatened or have a restricted geographic range. Importantly, the ISRA criteria address ways in which to identify an important area according to the known, regular, or predictable presence and/or activity of sharks within that area. Under the ISRA process, an area is assessed by considering if species occurring in the area satisfy one or more of the ISRA criteria. These are designated as qualifying species, and the area may then become an important shark and ray area. There are 4 ISRA criteria and 7 associated subcriteria. The criteria encompass vulnerability, range restriction, life history, and distinctiveness and diversity. Criterion A, the vulnerability criterion, considers areas important to the persistence and recovery of threatened sharks. Under Criterion A, threatened sharks are those that are listed on the IUCN Red List of threatened species as critically endangered, or vulnerable. The IUCN Red List is a globally standardized methodology intended to be an easily and widely understood system for classifying species at high risk of global extinction. While the IUCN Red List will be the primary source of information on extinction risk, other national regulatory and legal frameworks that assess the extinction risks of species can also be considered. Examples include the United States Endangered Species Act, the ESA, or the Australian Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act, the EPBC Act. To ensure the application of this criterion to areas supporting the persistence and recovery of sharks, and not merely observations of threatened species occurrence, Criterion A must be associated with at least one additional criterion, B, C, or D, describing the type of usage of the area by the species. The principle for this rule is that 1/3 of all living sharks are threatened with extinction. Some threatened species have very widespread global geographic ranges. Given this, most waters where sharks occur would be expected to have one or more threatened species. Criterion B, the range-restricted criterion, considers areas holding a regular and/or predictable presence of range-restricted sharks, which are occupied year-round or seasonally. The principle for the inclusion of this criterion is that sharks with very restricted natural ranges are especially susceptible to extinction if their natural habitats are eliminated or significantly disturbed. Their distribution may be restricted to those habitats by geographical features, for example, land masses or bathymetric barriers, or may be restricted by environmental factors which might support the presence of sharks in an area, for example, habitat type, temperature, salinity, or depth. Under Criterion B, range-restricted sharks are defined as species whose distribution is entirely limited to one large marine ecosystem or two adjoining large marine ecosystems. These are regions of the world's oceans encompassing coastal areas to the seaward boundaries of continental shelves and the outer margins of the major ocean current systems. They have been delineated for continental, polar, and large island and island chain marine waters. However, restricted ranges may also be considered for species that primarily occur outside of designated large marine ecosystems, including oceanic waters, offshore islands, and inland waters. Criterion C, the life history criterion, considers areas that are important to sharks for carrying out vital functions across their life cycle. These vital functions are reproduction, feeding, resting, and movement. The life history criterion is further described in the following subcriteria, designated as C1, C2, C3, C4, and C5. We will now step through each of these. Subcriterion C1, the reproductive area subcriterion, considers areas which are important for sharks to mate, give birth, lay eggs, or provide refuge and other advantages to the young. Subcriterion C1 refers to areas which are critical to the reproductive success of sharks. Reproductive areas include sites which can be identified as nursery areas and that are important for newborns, young of the year, or juveniles of viviparous species, or egg nursery areas that are important for egg laying and development until hatching and the development of newborns and juveniles of viviparous species. This can also extend to areas where the regular and predictable presence of mature sharks has been recorded for mating, and/or where pregnant females aggregate to avoid aggressive males and conserve energy during the mating season. Subcriterion C2, the feeding area subcriterion, considers areas that are important for shark nutrition at one or more life cycle stages. This subcriterion applies to areas or conditions such as season, temperature, nutrients, or water activities where natural aggregations or assemblages of sharks regularly and predictably occur or come to feed during biological or ecological events of a prey species, or at geomorphological features where large species migrations such as sardine runs, spawning events, marine mammal breeding grounds, submerged reefs, or seamounts. Subcriterion C3, the resting area subcriterion, considers areas that are important for sharks to conserve energy, which is often related to environmental conditions or temporal factors. Subcriterion C3 refers to areas where an aggregation or assemblage of sharks spends time during its daily activity cycle and which can be influenced by environmental conditions such as tidal cycle or temporal factors such as time of day. Resting areas are a key component of the daily activity of sharks. This is more relevant to sharks with distinctly diurnal, nocturnal, or crepuscular activity, and or sharks that are largely influenced by daily environmental cycles, in particular tidal cycles, which limit access to important habitat. Subcriterion C4, the movement subcriterion, considers areas used by sharks regularly or predictably during their movements, such as migrations, which contribute to the connectivity of other functionally important areas. Subcriterion C4 addresses the predictable movement of sharks, aggregations, or assemblages from one place to another, often occurring seasonally and related to a vital function such as reproduction or feeding. Repeated movements are common in many sharks and can encompass a variety of spatial and temporal scales. Examples include short, tidally mediated journeys, seasonal movements along coastlines, or movements across oceans or hemispheres, as well as vertical migrations between deeper and shallower water, which may be undertaken daily by some sharks. Subcriterion C5, the undefined aggregation subcriterion, considers areas where an aggregation or assemblage of sharks regularly and predictably occur, year-round or seasonally, but the function of the aggregation or assemblage is currently unknown. This can be aggregations or assemblages of sharks in an area which engage in or display a behavior that is known to occur but is not yet attributed to a known vital function. For example, reproduction, feeding, resting, or movement, or schooling for predator avoidance. Criterion D, the special attributes criterion, considers areas important for sharks for distinct biological, behavioral, or ecological attributes, or which support an important diversity of species. The special attributes criterion is further described in the following two subcriteria designated as D1 and D2. We will now step through these. Subcriterion D1, the distinctiveness subcriterion, considers areas with sharks that display distinct biological, behavioral, or ecological characteristics. The term distinct refers to unique or rare biological, behavioral, or ecological characteristics of a species. Sharks considered under D1 for distinctiveness must display these characteristics on a recurrent basis. Sharks which display a non-replicated biological, ecological, or behavioral characteristic should not be considered. Areas identified under subcriterion D1 may include areas where sharks potentially have suffered loss of connectivity from the global population and developed distinct characteristics. In these cases, a shark may be displaying a different behavior from the same species in other parts of the world. Subcriterion D2, the diversity subcriterion, considers areas that sustain an important diversity of sharks. This subcriterion refers to areas that may host a high diversity of sharks. That is, the area is important for a high or exceptional number of shark species. Care must be undertaken to ensure these areas contain core habitat for the species being considered, to avoid situations where only peripheral portions of many species ranges happen to overlap. The attribution of subcriterion D2 is based on a relative assessment, depending on the broader shark diversity. This diversity may be considered at a regional or subregional level, that is, a body of water within a broader region, in cases where a significant difference in the diversity of sharks between subregions is noted. The threshold number of species for the attribution of subcriterion D2 is set independently for each ISRA region. Species richness maps will be consulted to understand maximum diversity in region, which will guide the setting of regional specific threshold through a consultation process. Subcriterion D2 is not applicable to areas containing a single species and therefore technically containing 100% of local diversity. Only qualifying species can be used to justify criterion D2. The ISRA website has a resources page where documents containing further information can be found. In particular, the ISRA guidance on criteria application document is intended to direct and facilitate the use of the ISRA criteria. This document provides a rationale for each criterion, guidelines for its application, and a set of examples. The examples describe the possible application of the ISRA criteria and likely qualifying scenarios which can guide those preparing preliminary area of interest submissions. Thank you for watching this tutorial.